Hey guys, Joel's coming at you with another reasoning sesh where I challenge the status quo of the wisdom of the world and the church by diving deep into the ancient scriptures, uncovering meanings glossed over by translations, really cutting to the core of the metaphysical aspects of these ancient texts and applying them practically to situations in our present day so that we can manifest our best life yet. And today I'm going to be talking about how you can know your destiny once you know who Christ really is.
Come now and let us reason together. Come now, we can talk it over.
But before I begin, I gotta say, if you like these videos, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more, because we are really accelerating and we have achieved a breakthrough where now a new awareness is being downloaded through our DNA where we can literally embody our destiny and be who we've come here to be. But with that being said, I'm just gonna jump right into today's text. We're reading from the words of Yeshua in the Evangelion of Matthaiou. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And they said, "Some say that you are John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets, come back from the dead," obviously. He said unto them, "But whom say you that I am?" So he was doing this to open the conversation, but the bottom line of this whole thing was, who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ," or the Messiah, the Anointed One, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered and said unto him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it to you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." So we have a really interesting concept that Yeshua was actually trying to get Shimon or Simon to actually admit and realize, and that's that the Son of Man was the Messiah, the anointed Son of the living God. And Yeshua said straight up that this wasn't revealed by flesh and blood, but that this was being revealed by the Father in heaven, by Source itself. And you can just see when that power came on Peter, he just was like, "You're the Christ, the Son of the living God." And it was just like electricity just flowing through his whole body. But what I really want to talk about here is how Yeshua actually addresses him as Simon Bar-Jonah. Now that's of course his name, but Bar-Jonah literally means like son of Jonah. And the thing is, like, when you really dig into it, a lot of scholars think that he didn't even have a mother growing up. Like, imagine that. And another thing was that his father died at a really young age, so that he was actually taken into the house of the Zebedee brothers, which were two other apostles of Jesus. So he really didn't have a family. And look at how Yeshua is actually addressing him. He's like, "Simon Bar-Jonah." That's like your full name. That's literally associated with the guilt you might hear when your mother calls you out and says, you know, "Joel Anthony. Joel Anthony." Oh, Joel Anthony. It's like that whole idea that just, it just has all that baggage associated with it. But when he answered this way in realization of who Jesus actually was, the first thing that he said was, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, even though I know where your family comes from, who you were, what you're dealing with, your deepest, darkest secrets, your shame and your guilt, and just the inadequacy you might have in life." He said, "Blessed are you." How many of us want to be blessed? How many of us want to actually achieve that? You know, we're always asking Source. We're always trying to tap in to achieve that difference to the state of being that we find ourselves in. But he's saying, you are blessed. And then look at what he goes on to say. He says, "I say also unto you that you are Peter." He gives him a new name, and that new name means a rock. And it's upon this whole concept that is that rock that is the anchor. When we know who Source is, that power of the living Logos, that is the power on which we build our destiny. He says, "Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." It sounds like he was giving him that same authority that the manifesting creator of all things actually embodies when it creates physical world. So the bottom line here is that when you know who Source is, Source will tell you who you are. You know, we're always trying to achieve different things. We're always trying to be somebody. We always want to be some kind of achievement. And we're trying to define ourselves by our hobbies or by our relationships or by our assets, all these kind of things. What are we doing in life? And we judge ourselves based on that. But we're not human doings. We're human beings. You know, there was an old saying. And we realize that in being, we actually do. The doing follows the being. It's not the other way around. Once you are that person, all your actions and everything else follows that. But you'll never figure that out alone. You'll never figure that out by yourself, and you'll especially never figure that out by your own ego. You have to tap into Source. And what is Source created you to do? What is Source created you to be in this physical time? Once we realize that, then we'll actually find fulfillment in our inside. You know, and that's the power of the manifesting creator. The I am that I am. Who are you? You are who you are, and that's what you're made to be. So stop judging yourself against other people. Stop judging yourself by your physical circumstances. Stop judging yourself by all these assets or all these gains that you're making in the physical, and realize that you are who you are. And once you realize that power that lives in you, then that will all flow out, and you'll be given that new identity. You'll really be able to tap into that new potential and realize things that were never possible before. Like he says, whatsoever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Whatever you break through in physical awareness will be granted in the causal realm, and from there will unfold into your physical life experience. And this is who we're actually made to be. This is who we are. We were created in the image of Elohim, as it says. Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he them. Because this ties back to the lie of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Because what does the serpent say? He says, for God knows that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. But guess what? They were already created in the image of Elohim. It's not something that they had to do anything to achieve. It was already given to them. That is the state of being that they already were. But the lie was implanted. They believed the lie, and because of that, they did a physical act, eating the fruit in this case, that actually separated them from that awareness, that actually separated them from that state of being. But in knowing who the creator, who Source, who Mashiach or Christos actually is, the living logos, the word made flesh, we can actually embody the state of being that Source is. You know, and Paul even writes in his epistle to the church at Ephesus, for by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. So it's nothing that we do in the physical. It's just that faith that we have in that gift that's already been given by grace. And he also writes in the epistle to the church at Ephesus, God has raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. And that's exactly what it is. We are actually in that same state of being, joint heirs with him in that inheritance, of which he's the heir of all things, by whom also the worlds were made. And there's really nothing anybody has over anybody else. We are all equal because we are, like I said, joint heirs. In his epistle to the church at Galatia, he even says, for as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. And if you be Christ, then are you Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So there's nothing anybody has over anybody else. We are all co-creators, and we all have that ability to actually realize our destiny. But we do that in Christ. We can't do that outside of that power that lives in us. And even the word Christian, like, that's a vague translation, because originally when you really look into it, the first believers would go up to each other and be like, are you in Christ? Are you in Christ? They wouldn't say, are you a Christian? Do you attend so-and-so church? Do you do righteousness? It wasn't all about that. It was, are you in Christ? And in Christ, it's that Christ that works through you that allows you to achieve that state of being. Because as long as you're identifying with your mistakes, as long as you're identifying with your failures, you're not actually identifying with Christ in you. And once you realize that identity, you will realize your full destiny. So tap into that, manifest who you've come here to be, really carry out your destiny, because we need you. We need you to do that, because the world just isn't complete if you're not complete. So I just wanted to say that I really needed to share this message today. I even had another message planned for today, but Source was like, say this one first. So we'll get to that other message in a future reasoning sesh. Stay tuned for that. Stay optimistic and stay tapped in, because that is the living power that can manifest a living life experience beyond your wildest dreams. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I decree blessings and prosperity and abundance and wholeness and health over all of your lives. Receive it right now, and I will check you in a future video. Joel signing out once again. Agape, Salaam, Namaste, Shalom.